Before I start, first of all, just want to pass on my condolences to the family of Willis Reed. He coached here from 1981 to 1985, and that's two real giants we've lost here in the last 2 or 3 months from our Creighton history, and Paul Silas and Willis. So just wanted to pass on our condolences from the Creighton family to his family.
Did you two ever connect?
I met Paul Silas on several occasions. I've never met Willis Reed, no.
Could you discuss the differences between going to the Sweet 16 last time and this time, as far as just kind of the vibe and the atmosphere, not being in the bubble, and now it's kind of maybe more traditional?
Without question, first of all, we had a lot of fans there to celebrate at the end of the game with us. And then you go back to the hotel with family and friends and have a chance to celebrate rather than go back to your room and eat another piece of rubber chicken out of a styrofoam box, which is what we did in Indianapolis, would seem, for a couple weeks at a time. So, obviously the team accomplished as much, that team did, to get to the Sweet 16 is a difficult thing to do, but it was just a little bit more fun to celebrate on that particular night, and then also come back to Omaha and celebrate with the community some as well.
You're only the fourth team to lose 6 straight in the 64-team era and then make the Sweet 16 that same year. Is your perspective on what you guys have actually accomplished, even though it's not over yet, more enhanced as you've thought about it more, considering what you guys have had to go through in a short time?
Yeah, you find out a lot about people when times are tough. When things continue to go well and you get the bounce of the ball and you win close games, I don't know that your character is revealed quite as much as when you go through difficult times. And, this team went through a lot and they're still standing. I don't want to try it again, once is enough. But really proud of the team for the way that they navigated that difficult time and continue to grow and get better during that time so that we can be in the position we are today.
Mac, you talked about that time and you mentioned that having 3 sophomores was something you had to deal with during that time. How far have you seen R2, Art, and Trey progress during that time?
Yeah, they haven't even been on campus 2 years yet, and to think of the growth in each one of them over that time, both on the floor and then off the floor with their leadership and the things that they've done this year has been very impressive to see. And you guys have watched them play and watched them grow throughout this season. None of them play like sophomores, and that's a really credit to their work ethic and the time that they put in this gym to get themselves ready.
Did you see all this happening for them this quick?
I don't know that you can ever predict it happening this quick, but obviously the experiences they had last year as freshmen certainly prepared them. Not many freshmen are thrown into the fire at that level that they were last year, and they all handled it, great. Art and R2 had great years until R2 got hurt, and then Trey was having a good year, but then really elevated his game when R2 went down. So, you saw signs of what was to come a year ago, but they've all elevated their games.
Probably affects fellas like myself and maybe you more than the kids, but going through time zone time, they even notice that stuff, or you run on adrenaline? Is that kind of helps out?
Yeah, it was an hour different going that other direction, and obviously we're going east now, so it's going to be a change. We've played a lot of games on the East Coast time zone during the course of the year, and we get there Wednesday, so you have 48 hours to kind of get adjusted to it. I think the altitude was probably the bigger thing that we had to deal with in Denver, and we weren't smart enough to think about bringing oxygen masks to our bench like Baylor and NC State did. But I also think our guys kind of looked at that and chuckled at it a little bit when they saw guys puffing on oxygen mask on the other end, and we're rolling back out there and trying to play a little bit faster instead of a little bit slower. A few times late in the game, I was trying to get him to tap the brakes just slightly.
How do you, speaking of tap the brakes, how do you tap the brakes on the notion of the narrative that you guys are huge favorites against Princeton? Obviously, you have to be pretty good to be at this point, so you're going to give a good game against a quality opponent.
Yeah, like I told the team yesterday, we couldn't hold Arizona under 80, and they held them to 55. That's all we need to know. We know how good and talented Arizona is on the offensive end of the floor. What Princeton did to them to slow them down was really impressive. And oftentimes when there's an upset in a 116 game or 215, there's an outlier statistic. That's the reason why, whether it's a big difference in free throws made or the poor seed made a ton of three-point shots. They went 4-25 from the three-point line against Arizona and still won the game. So I think that speaks to what they're able to do on the backboards, their ball security, what they do defensively is really, really impressive. So, and when you're in the Sweet 16, every team's coming off 2 great wins, so everybody's playing with confidence. And we're going to see a really good team on Friday. And if we think for a second that we can look past them, we'll be on a flight home Saturday morning.
Your guys have had moments throughout the year, but specifically now in this tournament where they've looked like they're carried an edge with them into their performances. Have you tapped into that at all? Your guys' nature of trying to find other things to motivate that?
This is a confident group. It always has been, but they've never let that confidence get in the way of really working hard at our preparation, and that has to be the case this week. And we talked yesterday in the film room about when things were tough and there was a lot of outside noise. My message to them was to avoid that noise. Don't let that noise impact what we have to get done on the practice floor. The same can be said when things are going great. You have to avoid that noise as well. You can smile, you can say thank you, you can pump their fist, you can take a pat on the back, but when you come to this practice floor, you got to be ready to prepare. So while I want them to enjoy this week while we're still in Omaha, we've got a lot of work to do, and they need to be focused when it's time to do that.
So you wouldn't use the noise to motivate? I mean, they seem to. Do you discourage that, encourage that, avoid that?
I would prefer that they avoid the noise as much as possible, because generally when it's bad, things aren't as bad as the noise would make it seem, and when it's good, things generally aren't quite as good as that noise would make it seem. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle.
Still there's 3 Big East teams still in the tournament. How do you feel like? What do you think it says about the conference and how has Big East play kind of prepared you for this tournament?
Yeah, I think the Big East probably didn't get enough credit throughout this season. We've got the best winning percentage in the NCAA tournament to date, and our champion got beat, and I thought maybe they had a chance to advance as well. So, 3 teams in the Sweet 16, I think it was a great year across the league. And yesterday Cooley moves from Providence to Georgetown, and Rick Pitino was walking into St. John's. So the future of the league is really bright as well. But really proud of what they've accomplished, the other schools, and obviously we're cheering them on this weekend.
Have you noticed this week getting tougher with time management? Everybody wants a piece of you now with interviews and more attention on your team now?
Yeah, we're trying to shelter our guys from it as much as possible, and help them manage their time with some of that, because it is important that we're available for some of those interviews. I try not to let it impact my ability to prepare and carve out parts of each day to do this, and knock as much of it out as we can. But that goes with being in this situation, and you want to make sure you enjoy it.
Is there something neat, or do you appreciate part of playing Princeton? Even though the Princeton offense, they don't run it, really nobody runs it, but I think there's still concepts that a lot of teams use. Is that kind of neat?
Yeah, I mean, I've coached against it before. Obviously, when John Thompson Jr. was at Georgetown, they ran a version of it. Bidzelik ran it when he was at Colorado, when I was at Iowa State. So we've played against it before, and this isn't a true Princeton offense, but a lot of their characteristics are the same. Their spacing's great, their cutting's elite, their ball security's really good, and they spread you out, space you out with their ability to shoot the basketball. So those things are in common. What they're doing is a little bit different than true Princeton, but a very efficient offensive team.